Well, hi. So I got bangs, or like a shag, and I'm so pumped, and it looks so good, and I feel like I have been meaning to have this haircut my whole life. I guess I've just needed some bangs. So today I'm gonna tell you guys my top favorite albums of 2020. Gotta say, it was a lot better than last year's albums. Last year's weren't that great, even though 2020, it kind of sucked, like, music-wise, just because there hasn't been, like, concerts or anything, and it's kind of sad, and all these bands came out with all this fabulous music, and they can't play it anywhere, and it just makes me so sad. But there have been so many great albums, and I'm gonna tell you, I have a list of 5, and then I have quite a few honorable mentions that I want to talk about. Grab some tea and let's get to it. Oh yeah, and so throughout all this, I'm gonna tell you my favorite album, my favorite song, and maybe I'll rate it. So number 1 is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards KG. My favorite song is either Honey or Automotion off that album. It's such a beautiful album. It's your classic King Gizzard album, I want to say. It's still very twangy with like microtonal sound, I guess. And it's just like, has a ton of instruments like it always does. Very high energy and very fun, just your typical King Gizzard, and I love it. I want to give it like a 8 out of 10. It's pretty solid. Good album. And number 2 on my list, I have Ogbert the Nerd's I Don't Hate You. This album was also great. If you don't know Ogbert the Nerd, they're definitely a newer kind of band. My favorite song off this album was Do It For Elio? I'm not sure how to say it, but that was my favorite song. The album and like the band is kind of like, they're a very raw, catchy emo, I want to say. They have a lot of melodic guitar riffs and very scratchy vocals. They sound like a mix-up of Captain Jazz and Pup, which is so good. Both those bands are great, and they definitely sound very similar to those bands. And this whole album is like 100% built for a basement show. It is so good, and like when you hear any song off that album, you just want to like go to a basement show, and it just like brings you there. And it's a very good album. I give it a solid 8.5 out of 10 because it just brings back those memories, and I miss concerts a lot. And third, I have Nothing's the Great Dismal. My favorite song off this album is April Ha Ha because it features Alex G, but it's also a great song in general. If you don't remember Nothing, they had a lot of great albums, I think in like 2016, 2015, in that era. They're like a punk band that turned shoegaze with their new album, which I don't hate at all. It was very good. I was very surprised by the album. A lot of the band changed. They got a new vocalist as well as a new bassist, I believe. The bassist is from Jesus Piece, if you guys know who that is, which they're also fabulous. The singer is from Cloakwork. Maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know. This album is almost like dream poppy indie rock, I want to say. It's a very nice change from their old stuff, but their old stuff was very iconic as well. It was so good. I give this album like a 7.5 out of 10. It's very good, very great for 2020, I think. And so this one I'm gonna have to read off of my paper because I can't ever remember the whole title. But number 4 is Bright Eyes' Down in the Weeds Where the World Once Was. That album is... we have been waiting almost 10 years for a new Bright Eyes album, and when I saw this was coming out, I almost screamed because Bright Eyes is so good and so dreamy, and this album is just so great. It's like your classic folk emo album. I want to give it like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoy it. All of his music just reminds me of like a 2000s indie romantic comedy movie, if you know what I'm talking about, like The Garden State or Comet or Wrist Cutters, just like any of those very like feel-good indie romantic movies, whatever. His music's just so good and always just hits me right in the feels. It's so good. Yeah, so I give that album a 9 out of 10. It's just chef's kiss, masterpiece, so good. And then number 5, I have Touche Amorés's Lament, or Lamint, I don't know how to say it right. My favorite song is the opener on this album. It's called Come Heroin. It's actually quite a sad album. I was reading into this when I was researching all this stuff for the video, and I didn't know 100% that Stage 4, their previous album, was all about his mom's death from cancer, and it's actually very sad. And when I re-listened to the album, it made me really sad, and I had no idea that it was about that and how he didn't really cope well with it, I'm guessing. This album sounds very Touche Amoré-like, just more progressed, I want to say, and more like mature. Very great album. I want to give it like I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It was still really good. And I want to read this line from Pitchfork's review of it. Jeremy recognizes the privilege of his platform and the common misconception that he single-handedly walked people through their grieving process because he made a great hardcore record about not knowing how to grieve, which is very sad. So if you get the chance, definitely listen to their new album. It's sad, but it's really good and very well put together, so I definitely recommend this album. And now we're moving on to my honorable mentions, which I kind of think are better than my top 5 albums of the year, some of them at least. So number 1 in my honorable mention, I have AJJ's You Swan Go On and Horseface. They're just 2 great singles. They just came out in the beginning of December and they're very good, very AJJ reminiscent, I guess, of their old stuff, and very good tunes, some good tunes. Number 2 I just found today is Fiddler's I Just Wanna Die. Again, very old Fiddler sounding, very reminiscent. I really enjoyed it. It was very fun, very excited for it. Number 3 I have Matt Korecki's Songs for Brienne. Again, just very like Matt Korecki's. It was very good, very mellow sounding, a lot more mellow than his previous stuff, I think, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun. And number 4, I have Slaughter Beach Dogs at the Moon Base. This just came out, I think a couple days ago actually, and it is so cute. It's more like poppy compared to their older stuff. Not like, I don't know, it's a little bit more poppy, but it's still very cute and very Slaughter Beach Doggy, and it was very fun. Number 5, I have Young Jesus and it's Welcome to Conceptual Beach. This is a great album. I liked previous Young Jesus, and this current album EP is really good as well. So number 6 and 7 are definitely, I should have put them in my top 5 albums, but I didn't think any of you guys are familiar with them. So number 6, I have Shelf Life's Flawless. So they're more like indie country rock. I don't want to say like very country at all, but still like that twanginess. They remind me a lot of Spencer Radcliffe. It's a very great band, and that whole album is so good, and it's so cute sounding, and it's really nice. So definitely go check out Shelf Life if you're interested. Number 7, I have Teeth's Self-Titled. This is a new band. I believe they just came out with this album. It's their only album. It's more like Midwest slowcore, if you like that kind of stuff. Very like kind of shoegazy, kind of not. Very fantastic album. I definitely recommend it. But yeah, so those were all my albums of 2020. Let me know down below if any of those were your guys' favorites or what your favorite was. I'm sorry I didn't put Movements on there. I just wasn't a huge fan of Movement's new album. I'm sorry. I just can't. I'm sorry. Whatever. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.